Hello everyone, I'm Nathaniel for Thursdays on a Cure for Your Postpartum Depression, and here are my 5 Potter points. Before I start talking about these chapters, I have a little quick announcement to make that I am not terribly excited about. You may recall from previous videos that I told you that I was sorted into Ravenclaw very proudly, very happily. I took the whole Pottermore test, everything, and the verdict comes in a resounding Gryffindor? What? I have to confess, I never saw that coming. Ravenclaw or Slytherin were my 2 top picks. I'm going to make an appeal on the Pottermore sorting system. Because I refuse to call myself a Gryffindor, I'm going to stay a proud Ravenclaw. And that's that. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Moving on, point number 1. Gilderoy Lockhart. Can you think of a more annoying person in literature in real life? If you can, please. I want to hear about them, because I cannot think of anyone that is more self-absorbed, snotty, and just... He's Gilderoy Lockhart. And it's not just the cheeky winks or the winning smiles, it's the whole air. It's the, oh, Harry, my boy, you're off to greatness, but you're starting too fast. You don't need to be signing autographs and having pictures taken of you everywhere you go. Not yet. Later. Now, of course, we're all thinking this is all well and fine if he was talking to anybody but the boy who lived. Poor Harry, all he wants is to settle down, have a normal school life, normal rest of his life after his traumatizing childhood, and these awful people keep bringing up his past and telling him that it wasn't quite as good as being 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award. Psh! Nuh-uh. I should move on before I get much more heated about that. Point number 2. Flue powder. This has got to be the worst way to travel possible. You step into a fireplace, choke on ash, and start spinning in circles. I would throw up. The only thing left I have to ask about that is how long does it actually take? Because for Harry it takes like a whole page of talking about him spinning and seeing fireplaces whip by and inhaling all kinds of ash and charcoal and dust and stuff. Maybe if this whole thing was completely instantaneous, it would be worthwhile. But that's a good sort of segue into point 3... Sorry, I keep looking over at my screen. It has the big Welcome to Gryffindor sign on it, and it keeps throwing me off. Point 3. The Wizarding World seems to be stuck in maybe the early 20th century at best, with the big, huge old cameras. They don't have electricity, which, granted, they're wizards. They could just go poof, and they have light on the end of their wand, but they're still living by candlelight. It just doesn't seem very efficient, and I know the wizards frown on all the Muggle stuff, or some of them admire it for how innovative the Muggles are, but they could incorporate some of that into their wizarding worlds to make things maybe a bit more efficient, maybe a bit easier. I mean, they don't have computers, they have to write everything out by hand still. Granted, they could put a spell on their quill and write it for them, but I guess all in all, things probably even out a bit once you take into consideration magic versus electricity. Point 4 does not really have much to do with this week's reading. It was just something that kind of hit me as I was reading through it with all of the plans, and I realized they have different staff members. Where does Hogwarts get its funding? They have staff salaries, they have storerooms to keep stocked. They cannot keep all of that running just on magic alone, because I know you cannot conjure up money. Well, maybe you could, I don't know, but it would be counterfeit, wouldn't it? My only theory is that they get their supplies from people in Diagon Alley who went to Hogwarts and are thus more inclined to give away certain amounts of their supplies for free to support their alma mater. Point 5 goes out as a question to Alex. In your extensive knowledge of Harry Potter, where do mandrakes come in? Are they from some ancient culture? I don't know. You know about this stuff, I don't. If you had an inkling of where they came from, J.K. Rowling, with her liking to mix in all sorts of different cultural, magical traditions and folklore, where this fits into that. And that is officially all I had for this week. I'm sure I'll have more as things start getting more interesting, as the story really starts to kick off. But this week I am a proud Ravenclaw signing off. See you next week.